So we'll call the meeting of the Human Services Committee to order. Thanks everyone for being here today. Members, please take note of the agenda. On item 2A, the agenda has been updated and is on board docs for your perusal. And Chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion with respect to the agenda? All in favor will please say aye.
Aye.
For the benefit of the folks in attendance here, the soil sedimentation item has been moved to item 4B. I apologize for that change, but that's what we needed to do. The public comment is now open. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person to address the board. You may only address the board once under public comment and may not yield your time to others, and we will not debate or answer questions during public comment. Public comment is now open. For example, for those who are looking for appointments.
Chairman, Earl Pileski, commissioners, committee members, everyone else. Mr. Overton.
Please state your name.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Carl Rice, and you probably don't know this, but Leone Township. And I'm here to present to the committee just some quick comments here. I'm here, first of all, to ask for your vote and recommendation to be reappointed to the Lifeways Board of Directors, so I can continue serving the citizens of Jackson County. In your agenda packet, you'll see letters of support. I'm honored to receive from CEO Mary Beth Leonard from Lifeways, as well as the CEO from the Community Mental Health Association of Michigan, where I am currently first vice president. I serve on several committees where we work hard and accomplish a lot. An example is the Mental Health and School Committee that I'm chair of. For over 2 years, we worked with partners and stakeholders from around the state of Michigan. And we were instrumental, and I'm talking about Lifeways and the people who serve at Lifeways and the board, and the staff and the leadership. We were instrumental in making suicide intervention and prevention training available to all schools right now in the state of Michigan. And again, that started at Lifeways. As a primary consumer with experience working in mental health, I care deeply about people receiving quality care. And on Lifeways board, I'm part of a team. And there's a couple of team members here with me, sitting in front of me here. And I believe as a team, the Lifeway board proves that we care and advocate for people who deserve quality care. And I look forward to helping Lifeways move forward to continue the good that it's doing. Thank you for your time.
Additional public comment? Any more public comment? Public comment is now closed. We'll move on to committee items. We're at item 4A on the agenda, approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support. Moved by Snell, supported by Commissioner Williams. Any comments with respect to the minutes? All in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We're now at item 4B, the Health Department Soil Erosion and Sedimentation Control Ordinance.
I'd like to move that as recommended by the department.
Thank you. Is there support? Support. Thank you. Moved by Snell and supported by Alexander to approve the staff recommendation to the ordinance. Chair will entertain questions. Commissioner Bear.
Get into some of that.
Excuse me, Tony, is your mic on?
Is your mic on?
That's why we're replacing these soon.
It's working.
That was working? Thank you. So anyway, I wanted to thank the Health Department that some of my comments were definitely incorporated. I appreciate that. About 4 of my comments were just questions to the Board of Commissioners. I don't know if any of you read through my comments that I emailed to all of you months ago. But those questions haven't really been discussed amongst this group, which I had requested, or I would like to request. So going through this, I'd like to first get into some of the objectives that were stated in here. So objective, that'd be Article 1C, which is objectives. Item 2, objective is to prevent unnecessary stripping of vegetation and loss of soil in the projects that have the potential to impair the waters of the state. So there's an intent to prevent waters that are currently polluting the waters of the state, to prevent that. I think that objective can be better accomplished if we add a couple items in here. Objectives number 7, to provide for stricter regulation of soil erosion sedimentation control in Jackson County than has been approved for in the act and the rules. So the objective stated was to make this stricter than what we have now. The county enforcing agency, I had made a comment there. I said, let's add the who is the county enforcing agency. It was the county health department. If someone looks up this ordinance on the county website, they can see the ordinance, but where do they go from there? Nothing tells them that they should go to the health department to obtain this permit. So that's one item that I think we should add, direct the public to where they, yes, do need to go. Next comment I have for the commissioners here is that under Article 3, definitions, the definition for landowner. This definition expands to any agency that is working in the right-of-way is considered the owner. I guess as a landowner, I'm not comfortable with that. That's my question here to the board. Pardon me?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
The wording in the current ordinance under definitions, the definition of landowner, 1 is the person who holds the recorded, the person who owns the property. They're a property owner. But a landowner is also included in this definition is any agency, like the Jackson County Department of Transportation. If they're doing work in their easement, they're classified as the owner. I guess as a landowner, I'm not comfortable with that. Can we create a different category in here, a different definition, where we have landowners, then maybe the other category is agencies that have the authority to work in the easement, but I'm not comfortable calling them owner, so I'd like you guys' input on that. Seawall maintenance. It's exclusively an earth change activity landward of the seawall. But that doesn't include the actual seawall. If the reason you're making some changes is the seawall is deteriorating, if it's an older wood one and it's rotted and it's collapsing into the water, how do we address maintenance of the seawall? This is just maintenance of the land leeward of the seawall.
Do you have a point of order, Commissioner Snell?
How do you want to do this?
I guess the question is, Commissioner Barry, do you have any motions to make with respect to your discussion?
If you want to make it one at a time, I can. I can do them as a group at the end. Depends on your pleasure.
The Chair will entertain a motion to move the question.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there support?
Second.
Commissioner Williams. The question is on whether to move the question. All in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I don't understand what we're voting on here. Would you explain that to me?
Okay. The question is on whether to take up the motion. The motion exists to make the recommendation to the full board to adopt the ordinance as the staff recommended.
Okay, so the motion is to stop allowing me to present and just vote on what the health department has presented.
The motion is to move the question. And as I heard it, the motion has passed. Is that it, correct, Madam Clerk?
I didn't vote because I didn't understand it.
Okay.
Tony did not
Let's-
vote, but yes,
I will
everyone
vote
else
no.
voted.
Let's make sure it's all plain. On the question of whether to move the question, all in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Appears to pass. Now on the question of whether to recommend to the full board the adoption of the ordinance as the staff has recommended. All in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Appears to pass. We're up to item 4C, appointments. First is the Department on Aging Advisory Council. We have two current members, Felicia Richmond and Tom McKinder. We do not have applicants for these particular openings. Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing no nominations from the floor, we'll continue to advertise the opening. Now we move to the Lifeways Board. There are two general public positions. There is a primary consumer position and a commissioner position. I think we'll start with the general public position. The new term expires March of 2025. The current member is John Clark. The applicant is John Clark and several others, Christine Carlson, Lisa Downey, Christina Lawrenson, Brenda Nora, and Vanessa Mulnix. Chair will entertain motions from the floor. There is motion and support to recommend to the full board the appointment of John Clark and Christine Carlson as the general public members. Any comments? All in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We move now to the primary consumer position on Lifeways Board. The term expires March of 2025. The incumbent is Carl Rice Jr., and the applicant is Carl Rice Jr. Any nominations from the floor? Very good. Thank you. The motion is to appoint, or to recommend to the full board, to appoint Carl Rice Jr. as the primary consumer member of Lifeways. And there is support. All in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The commissioner appointment for the term expiring March of 2025, current member is Earl Pileski. He has applied. Chair will entertain motions at this time. Thank you. Motion by Snell, supported by Alexander, to recommend to the full board the appointment of Earl Pileski as the commissioner member of Lifeways. All in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much. And now on the Veterans Affairs Committee, there is a public member, Vietnam vet, opening for term expiring March of 2026. Current member is Richard Arnold, and the applicant is Bill Tripp. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move Bill Tripp.
Thank you. Motion by Snell, supported by Alexander, to recommend to the full board the appointment of Bill Tripp to the Veterans Affairs Committee. All in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, members, for the work on the appointments. And now, patiently waiting has been Mary Beth Leonard, the Director of Lifeways. Thank you, Mary Beth, for your patience as we've dealt with a couple of things this afternoon.
So, good afternoon, Commissioners. So included in your packet, there is a short report for this month. Couple of things that I'd like to highlight relative to the report. I think it is important to share with you as county commissioners so that you're aware, especially for your constituents, relative to the increase in services over the last several years. So you'll see that on that front page. You'll see that there's been a significant increase relative to services that are being provided, and as a result of two major things, obviously the millage and the Certified Community Behavioral Health funding that we received through SAMHSA about a year ago. It is great to see such a significant increase. I will point out that, because it may be a question that might be asked relative to why there was a decrease in 20 and 21 relative to the number of people. So services have gone up, but the people have gone down, and the reason for that is during the pandemic, the state of Michigan has expanded eligibility for Medicaid. So as soon as the state of emergency ends in Michigan, the 6 months after that, you will see the decrease in Medicaid. So there will be obviously an increased need for individuals relative to the millage when that happens. But I just wanted to point that out. And the other thing that I wanted to highlight relative to the report is on the second page. We are in the process of rolling out a new Lifeways website, as well as a logo that really aligns more with the evolution of the community mental health over the last couple of years relative to expanding into integrated care, substance use services. And so you'll see that coming. We'll still Lifeways, but we will be dropping the Lifeways community mental health because we provide a much broader array of services. The other thing that I would like to point out is we are happy to report to the board, as I think I shared with you prior, we had our site visit for our crisis residential. We do have our licensure, and so that was quite an accomplishment for the organization and for staff, and that is up and running, and so that is a great resource for our community. We're very proud of that. And then the last thing, with the Certified Community Behavioral Health clinics, one of the things that's pretty exciting that we're doing out into the community is called engagement work. So we are sending staff out into the community and really engaging individuals and educating the community around behavioral health services. There's a lot of stigma, as you know, relative to accessing care. And in your report, you'll see that we have staff that on a routine basis are going to the Interfaith Shelter, the Salvation Army, Jackson King Center, and Reed Manor to really be a presence there so that they can engage people and connect them with services. So those are all exciting things to share with you. The other thing that, and I have brought with me, is my Executive Director of Access and Crisis, David Lowe. So if you wouldn't mind come up, David. I understand that at your last board meeting, there was a concern that was presented from a community member around the petition process. So I did want to share a little bit briefly without, it is a very complicated process, but briefly kind of educate county commissioners about the petition process. The Kevin's Law was implemented in 2005, and then 2015 it was updated. And it was updated because of some of the challenges with being able to actually utilize Kevin's Law. So this was an advocacy done by probate across Michigan. And so they revised the petition process to make it easier for the community relative to getting people connected with services before they got to the point of being in crisis. So I'm going to pass it over for the Executive Director of Access and Crisis, David Lowe, to kind of highlight a few things for you.
Good afternoon, Chair, board members. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear about this very, very paramount process that we have codified in law specific to petitions, inpatient hospitalizations for those of the members of the community who are most vulnerable. I wanted to talk a little bit about the petition process because there is a misperception that exists in our communities that I think is very important to take back to your constituents and allow them to understand. The petition process itself is a guarantee that a loved one within the community is seen because someone has identified a significant risk for themselves or others within the community. A petition is not a guarantee to be locked away on an inpatient psychiatric unit. In fact, there are several other components of the law that exist. It does require 2 clinical certifications once an individual is evaluated at a hospital in order for an involuntary hospitalization to occur. The petition process at Lifeways, if somebody were to come into the community and ask for support, we simply provide the PCM 209 form, and we allow them this form in the event they disclose to us that they have somebody that they care deeply about, somebody that could put their lives or others at risk, and we let them walk through that and submit that to the courts for a decision based upon the facts that they're presenting on that. Lifeways does not provide intervention, legal guidance, or anything else that would conceptualize the need for inpatient psychiatric treatment. The other unique thing specific to the Kevin's Law that was passed, and again, that was the Public Health Act 593 in 2018, they recodified in law. And what Kevin's Law allowed for is we no longer petition to solely seek involuntary inpatient psychiatric treatment. Kevin's Law allowed what we call assisted outpatient treatment, assisted outpatient therapy. And what that means is we can petition, this loved one that I have, this community member needs help. We can petition and ask for a court hearing to order for assisted treatment without going to an inpatient psychiatric unit. So throughout Lifeways, as you can imagine, when folks present to us and they're in a state of crisis, it's not always somebody who needs an immediate, urgent, emergent, or routine mental health need. It's also loved ones like some of you on this committee and some of those in attendance who have somebody, and it puts us in a state of distress because we want the very best for a loved one. We want the very best for our consumer. What we provide is what the court has instructed us as a requirement so that we sign that we've reviewed this, and we believe that this person came to us seeking that support. The probate court won't allow processing unless we do, and again, we provide that guide, and sometimes an intervention, as you can imagine, it's never easy to come seeking support, seeking help for somebody in your family that for 10, 15 years, maybe they never needed it, but all of a sudden they hit rock bottom. So that's where we approach the petition, and that's the process in which Lifeways provides, is simply walking them through that form and letting them know that it exists and that there is an option outside of suffrage.
Question, Commissioner Snell? Yeah, there was I think someone brought to our attention a form that Lifeways fills out when someone has been going through this process that says, yes, we think they need to be committed, and we have not done any kind of an analysis, and that sounds kind of,
I think you're clarifying right now my question, Earl. I apologize.
yeah. That's the question, is it appears that, that the work is done with respect to a person without Lifeways having really done anything, okay? And maybe it appears to laymen that it's on someone's say-so. And that's, I think you explained it to me, but I'm not sure I heard it all. But there's a lot of work that is behind that, is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. In fact, the process, I believe that the challenge that had come up was the due process relative to inpatient psychiatric treatment. Due process occurs once the 2 clinical certifications have taken place. 2 doctors have identified that the individual does in fact need involuntary inpatient treatment. Once the individual does receive that involuntary inpatient treatment, they are allowed the ability to defer through the courts. They can also move towards a hearing, and they can even go a step further and request a trial jury of peers. Now, the other thing that's unique, specific to the evaluation, when an individual presents and they're sharing with us facts about a loved one, again, providing that form and the process to file with the courts. And as you can imagine, with anything, providing the educational component's crucial because some members just don't know how they would approach a loved one's psychological distress. But the petition itself, there is a checkbox, and I wasn't privy to the second page of the 209 form, but on the second page of that form, it does ask the petitioner what they are being requested. You can petition without securing evaluation, and that is the most crucial component. In fact, you would request a pickup order, the judge would sign the pickup order, and then delegate that to the local law enforcement agency. It could be the local police, or it could be the sheriff's department, for them to pick the person up in order to secure the evaluation. But evaluation is not a prerequisite to completing that form and completing to the courts.
Did that address your questions, Mr. Chair? Okay. Other questions of the committee? We appreciate the explanation to make sure that, frankly, the rights of the person are thoroughly protected. I think you've described that.
Mr. Chair, I was
Yes, sir.
hoping I know I'm not on the committee.
Commissioner Kennedy, please.
Okay. So if I'm hearing this right, if a family member petitions out of concern for another family member, that individual that was petitioned has no choice. I'm not saying about being placed into care, but they must sit down and meet with 2 health professionals?
They do have a time period. It's codified in law that, yes, they do have to receive that evaluation.
So that would lead to my next question. If someone was doing that out of malicious intent, are there repercussions for that?
Yes, so an individual will have representation through that due process within the hospital, and there is stipulations within the law that you cannot do this to maliciously, attack, go after character, or for some other gain. And if it is believed that that was filed with an inherent flaw, there are repercussions for jail time and a fine. But remember that Kevin's law also discussed that you work on a good faith basis, and then through that clinical evaluation, that's going to make the determination if in fact this individual requires treatment. Now, if an individual presents following the pickup from law enforcement and a psychiatrist evaluates, says this is not a person who is requiring inpatient psychiatric treatment, then they would discharge them from the hospital.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Lifeways? We appreciate the explanation. Thank you for coming
Thank you very
today.
much.
Appreciate it very much. Members, we move now on to item E, the DHHS quarterly report. I was going to say I didn't see Director Lyons, but she was behind the post.
Behind the pillar.
There she is. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. You should have received my report for March of 2022. Just to give a few updates and briefly touch on the items. As in recent years, thank goodness, we are more than halfway through our state's fiscal year and well within our child care fund budget. Within Children's Services, just to give you an idea of our staffing issues, we have 5 vacancies within our 42 Children's Protective Services positions. They've been pretty steady, kind of hanging out there at about that 5. Same issues that the rest of the world is having with finding people who are interested to apply, who might show up for interviews, and all of those kinds of things are happening with our office as well. We used to have a full day of 2 panels of interviews, so that would be about 16 people being interviewed on a quarterly basis. And our last interview day, we had 3 people scheduled and none of them showed up. So we're no different than anyone else in the world. In foster care, we only have 1 vacancy, although these numbers are a little bit not accurate because we also have people on medical leave and paternity and maternity leaves. So our staff now, when a new baby is born, get 12 weeks off, whether you are mother or father, which is great for our families and a little bit harder for us in the office. So, but still doing a great job covering for everyone and getting our needs met. Let's see. We also just wanted to share with you that we recently did a training for all of our Children's Services staff about how to engage with their families around race identity. So, of course, we've been doing a lot of anti-racism and DEI work, and one of the things that we struggle with is how accurate our data is. And so we've had some training on how to engage our families around that conversation, and are now ensuring that that conversation is documented and that the data that is then within our system matches what the conversation that we had with our families. In our cash assistance, food assistance, and Medicaid programs, our numbers are up again in terms of applications. So where we used to get about 550 applications each week, we're now getting about 775. So that's keeping us very busy on our assistance payment side. Our food assistance supplements continue. So as has been throughout COVID, our families are getting the highest amount of food benefits based on their family size. And that's continuing on a month-to-month basis now, but hasn't stopped at this point. And then we've also created a different way for us to meet the needs of our clients who are calling in. So for a couple of months, probably the end of fall and beginning of 2022, we were getting really far behind in getting back with our folks who called. It was weeks at a time before we could get back with them. We instituted a new system. Most of our folks who need an interview are talked to within an hour now, and if somebody is moved over to the voicemail system, their calls are returned within 24 to 48 hours. So really important for us to be able to answer the calls of people who have needs and aren't sure if they're going to be met. And then we continue to, as I said, do our race equity work, and we are in the process of creating an anti-racism transformation team. Jackson was on a state level team, and we're creating a local team within our office that will start sometime this coming July. And will continue for about 3 years, and then we will reevaluate at that time. And then finally, I always attach a list of community meetings, and this time I actually added our DHHS meetings as well, so you can just get a picture of how myself and my staff spend our time when we are not here with you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. And as always, if there's anything of particular interest that you'd like to know about, I'd be happy to report on that.
Questions for the director? Not seeing any. Thanks, Zoe, for being here. Appreciate the work.
So much.
We'll move on now to the medical care facility quarterly report. And Destiny, good to see you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to start off by stating there was an error in the report that was submitted to the committee, and a new report has been sent to Delene this morning outlining an updated section on the finance section. The rest of the report is accurate. I want to apologize for that. So I will just briefly go through the financial side of things. So for November of 2021, we showed a net loss of $124,000. This was better than budget by $123,000, as we had budgeted for a net loss of $247,000 for the month of November. Revenue was better than budget by $175,000. Expenses were over budget by $52,000, and the census averaged 155, which was better than budget, which was at 154 for November. For December, we showed a net gain of $306,000, which was better than budget by $575,000, as we had budgeted for a net loss of $269,000 for the month of December. Revenue was better than budget by $586,000, and expenses were over budget by $11,000. Average census was 152, which was 4 beds less than budget, and at that time, the budgeted census was 156. So we did approve a new budget on December 20th of 2021, the board did. So for 2022, we're looking at the end of the year, ending with a net income of $13,855 before depreciation and amortization is added in. So really, we're looking at a break-even budget for 2022. With an average census of 172. So I give you that information just to kind of explain why January is budgeted for a net loss. So with January's financials, we had a net gain of $196,000, which was better than budget by $642,000, as we had budgeted for a net loss of $446,000. So to explain the reason why that was budgeted for a loss, we knew going into 2022, because of the workforce issues that we've been having, that census was going to start on the low side, and we were going to gradually need to build that throughout the year. So we knew the first several months of the year we were going to be budgeting for a loss, so at the end of the year, we would end at budget neutral. So I just wanted to explain that, because that is quite a large number. However, we did much better than we had anticipated for the month of January. Revenue was greater than budget by $246,000, and expenses were under budget by $396,000. Our census averaged 150, which was 7 beds less than the budgeted census of 157. Any questions on the financial piece?
Questions, Commissioner Williams?
No, I don't have any questions, but I do have a comment I just wanted to share. I'm appreciative of the numbers that have been presented today, as this is better than what I was expecting and better than what's been reported over the past few reports here. So that's very encouraging to see that things are beginning to look a little better in that regard. So just thank you for your work and diligence on that and paying close attention to the budget. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Destiny, I'll let you know that my overarching concern with respect to the medical care facility is the effect on the maintenance of effort that we have to maintain as a county, which is funded by the millage. So I think I'm going to ask maybe in future reports that we see some kind of a status of the MOE and what you might see as deposits and withdrawals from it, as we want to make sure that we have enough there and that we have enough warning in advance of that it may, if it starts to fall off or something like that. So I'm curious about that, if that's not too difficult to put together.
So the MOE payments that are made from the MOE account are actually determined on an annual basis. So when we submit our cost report determining our annual costs for the previous year, that's what determines the MOE payments going forward into that next year. So we're in the process of starting that cost reporting, and that's due at the end of May. So I should be able to provide some more insight then.
Very good, thank you. Any further questions? Mr. Overton.
Thank you. Just a quick question here, so help me understand the numbers. What's your total bed count?
194.
194, and you're at 150.
150, well, yes, we were at 150 for January,
Okay.
for the average.
And you want to average 170 something by the year end
172.
for the
Yep,
year.
For the year.
So then, come towards the end of the year, you need to be at full occupancy to average out that, right?
No, we need to get up to 181, I believe, is what we calculated out with the accountant.
And that'll average out to the
Yes.
174?
Yep.
Okay. And just, what is the plan to increase occupancy?
So the main piece is increasing workforce in order to increase occupancy. And that's a piece that I have not gotten to yet, but I will be happy to go into that to answer your question.
What you're saying is it's not a supply, it's, we have plenty of people who would like to be there, we just don't have the staff to support it?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So continuing on, I did want to share a little bit with COVID-19. So we have been considered to be in outbreak status until last Friday. We just exited outbreak status since September 14th. So outbreak status is determined by one COVID-19 case of either staff or residents. We did have some resident cases in the month of January. We had about 16 cases. All of those residents had fairly mild symptoms. We believe it was probably the Omicron variant, but that's not something that we can know for certain. But very different experience this time around with having resident cases than previously in 2020. So during that time, we did place group activities and communal dining on hold, but those have resumed. In-person visitation continued during that time, and that's a change from the federal government on what we're allowed to do with in-person visitation from previous in the pandemic. The other piece that I think is important during this time period is the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services vaccine mandate became effective on January 28th, requiring that all of our care partners have at least their first dose of the vaccination or have an approved medical or religious exemption. And then the second dose was due on February 28th. So we did have 12 care partners that were granted exemptions, and we did have 9 care partners that self-terminated after a 2-week leave of absence as a result of that vaccine mandate. So the total number of residents since the beginning of the pandemic that has tested positive is 93, and the total number of care partners is 200. In the area of workforce, we are continuing to work with our unions. We have had some grievances, one resulting in arbitration, and we're expecting that arbitration response from the arbitrator any day now. We do have another Step 2 grievance from M&A, which is our RN union, that we are awaiting arbitration on as well. We have no outstanding grievances from AFSCME 2098A, which represents our LPNs and our health unit coordinators. And we do have one outstanding request for arbitration from AFSCME 139, which is our service line workers, so our CNAs, our housekeeping and laundry staff, and our dietary staff. And then with that, we've also made a couple changes with how we are recruiting. So there has been a waiver in place to be able to hire individuals and bring them in and provide some training to work as nurse aides. There's some liability that goes with that, but we've kind of reached the point that it's time to take that liability on and start offering that training. So we have been doing that now throughout this period that I'm reporting on, and we've seen some good gains in the workforce, and we have a lot of people that are very interested in being provided with training. So that's very exciting for us and very exciting for our residents. We are still working on ways to recruit more nurses, but our CNAs had been our primary focus, as that was the main area of workforce concern. I did want to report that the turnover rate for 2021 was 55.81%, which is considerably higher than what we've seen in previous years. So far, 2022 to date is at 8.06%. We did have, in your report, I did include a list or a graph showing the number of CNA and nurse call-ins and mandations. So mandations would be mandatory overtime. So for the month of January, we did have 192 CNA call-ins and 25 mandations. And for the month of January for nurses, we had 75 nurse call-ins and 25 mandations. And again, one thing to keep in mind with that is we did see a considerable amount of COVID cases during that time period that does impact those numbers as well. In terms of quality, we are currently ranked as a 4-star facility. We are 4 stars in quality and 5 stars in the staffing component of the CMS 5-star system. We currently have 3 stars for our survey rating. One piece that has impacted our quality stars is our lower census. So when you have a lower census, your numerator and denominator to determine percentages is a bit skewed. So that has caused us to go from a 5-star in quality to a 4-star. So we are actively working on that with our quality improvement team. And I believe that is all of the updates that I have for you at this time.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Williams.
Just one other final question. Are we doing any advertisement at all to fill some of the vacancies we have in staff?
Yes, sir. We are advertising through Indeed. We've also done some Facebook ads because I've been hearing a lot of good feedback on that. And we're also working with an agency to look at some streaming radio ads as well to see if that might be something that could assist us with workforce.
Perfect. That'll work. Thank you.
Okay.
Nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Destiny, I don't know, maybe this is just a comment, but when I see 5-star staffing component and 56% turnover, I have trouble reconciling those two observations.
I can understand that. So the staffing component of the 5-star system is a bit unique. So as a whole, the medical care facility has really had a very high standard for staffing throughout the years, higher than maybe the average nursing facility across the United States. We have found that when we have maybe what would be considered higher level staffing than other facilities, we see better quality outcomes. We see less falls, we see less injuries, we see less resident-to-resident interactions that are inappropriate. And so we have always maintained a higher level of nursing staff than maybe the average facility. But right now, as we've seen the census go down, we've also seen the number of positions that we have filled go down as well, because those two are connected. So even though it seems like we have lost a lot of positions, because we've kind of lost that and the census at the same rate, it's kept the same ratio, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, thank you for your report today.
Thank you very much.
And now for the Department on Aging. And the chair will remind everybody I've got an appointment across town at 1:30, so at 1:15 we're going to be finished today. So to the extent we can be as brief as possible, it would be appreciated. Welcome, Danielle. Thank you for being here. It looks like you have a show and tell.
I do. I always like to bring things. So one of the requests that we have in front of you today is to look at our meal trays. We try to purchase those once a year. We buy that in a large quantity because it provides the most savings for us within the program. So this is the main tray that we use for our home delivered meal service. It's a 3-compartment tray. And the estimate that was provided to purchase them through Oliver's, there's a perforated film that goes over this, and so that's what keeps that, when the meal is hot itself, with that special film that goes over it, it keeps it from bubbling up. And then these trays are put inside these, what we call our hot bags, and they hold about between, the maximum is 24, we try to keep it about 22. It is a heated bag, so these stay warm as they are given to the client, so they stay plugged in inside the van. And then when we deliver them to the client, it's already warm and ready to eat. So, so this is just an example with one with pictures with the film over it. So it's most economical for us to purchase them in a large quantity. It's not something that we're not going to use. So we looked at the highest capacity of trays that you can order, which is 336 cases. With that, it comes up to be about $78,602.72. With these trays, I tried to see, is there anybody else that was supplying those? We use an Oliver type of machine. It's the manufacturer of the trays. And so with that, we don't pay for maintenance of that machine. They come in, they service it, they give us blades as we need them, any kind of springs or anything like that. So along with using the trays from that supplier, we don't pay for the equipment that's used during that process. So checking with our counterparts like Lenawee and Hillsdale, they also use Oliver Manufacturing as the person that supplies their trays as well. And the majority of the state that I know of also use Oliver's. They were an agency that worked great during the pandemic when we had to get things in right away through here. So they are an agency that's worked the best for us. And trying to look at pricing, even to try to say, can I get the Oliver trays cheaper somewhere else? I could not find another competitor. So in the past, we were able to look and price compare, like with PG or PJ Marketplace, Web Restaurant Store, usually sometimes Amazon or Walmart will carry them. Nobody else seems to be carrying the trays at the same time. I think that's probably just kind of how the market is right now, but they were always places that were always higher. So again, going right to the manufacturer, that's the best option for us with these trays.
The staff report is to suggest to the full Board of Commissioners the purchasing of the Oliver packaging trays at the cost of $78,602.72, and the chair will entertain a motion.
Also move.
Support.
Commissioner Snell moves, Commissioner Williams supports. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. It appears to pass. Danielle?
And
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you for the work. Keep going.
With the rest of my report, I just wanted to mention that the Region 2 Agency on Aging received some what they call the ARPA funds, similar to what the counties received. Last week, I learned it was $1,485,000 that they received that has to be spent by September 30th of 2024. That award that they received is for a tri-county region, so it's Jackson, Lenawee, and Hillsdale. They're kind of going through the process of what they can spend those dollars on. As I learn more, I'll share that with the Human Services to see if there's grants that we can apply for. I'm thinking the majority of it's going to come back to the nutrition program, but I'm not positive on that. But as I learn, I'll share. But just to let you know that was money that's going to be coming to Jackson County as well. Our Soups On for Seniors event is tomorrow. We expect about 200 people. We have about 10 restaurants coming, so we're very excited for the event. We're thinking we're probably taking about $15,000 to $16,000 from the event, but again, a lot of that depends on how that silent auction goes and all the components of that. So it's pretty exciting. People are still calling in today to buy tickets or reserve them for tomorrow's event. And just
Can you take people at the door?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It just costs more. So
I get that. I've got it on my calendar. I'm not sure I'm going to be there because I've got a Lifeways meeting, but I just want to make sure that if I show up, I won't get run off.
No, we take people.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, if you're hungry and you want to come join us and try some soup from 10 different restaurants, please do so. And again, thank you for approving the request to move on for the meal trays. Thank you very much for that. And just a moment of excellence I put on there. We have a great team of home care staff, and one of the comments that the senior recently made about their worker, she reported that the worker is wonderful, very smart, and I really liked the part that the senior said, listens without judgment. And so I think that was very impactful and powerful because your seniors are dealing with a lot as they're trying to age in place and maybe dealing with health situations or family dynamics around them, and just kind of some of those struggles. And so I really felt that was very impactful and just wanted to share. So that's all I have for my report.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. Further questions for the Department on Aging? Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Good luck with your event tomorrow night.
Yes, thank you.
And MSU Extension is up. Thank you for your patience today.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present our semi-annual report to you this afternoon. It's not often that we get to follow up on a real-life scenario that's happened with some of the programming that we've done, so I've asked Tom to give you a quick update on the E-Rail program and trailer that we've talked about in the past, and then I have a couple of quick introductions and updates for you, and then we'll be done. Thanks.
Greetings, Tom Guthrie, MSU Extension. Just here to give you a brief update on our emergency response for accidents involving livestock update. We've talked about this over the last couple of years about how we identified the issue of we're going to have an influx of livestock transportation trailers coming into our state because of the Clemens food plant that's located in Coldwater. Right? That plant processes 10,000 pigs per day. They're looking to go to 20,000 pigs. That means that that's going to equal about 63 semi-trucks hauling pigs to that plant on a daily basis. That's the influx coming in, right? So we talked with our stakeholders about this kind of issue, and then we essentially got to work. Is this going to work? There we go. Okay, so we got to work. We started providing in-person trainings, and our target audience for this really was first responders, right? Trying to equip them with knowledge and equipment to be able to respond to an accident that involved livestock or animals, right? Because an accident scene is chaotic as it is, but you add animals to that whole situation, it makes it even more chaotic, right? So we offered in-person trainings. We took the information that we derived from the in-person trainings, turn them into virtual training modules, which are online, so first responders that weren't able to come to our in-person trainings can go to those trainings, still get the information, right? We do individual consultations. A lot of times that's with trucking companies that have an interest or other types of organizations. And then finally, we put these emergency response trailers as our final piece to that puzzle. And when we're looking at strategically placing emergency response trailers, which are filled with animal handling equipment, I've got a picture of one coming up here, to be able to respond to an accident involving livestock, right? We do have an equipped response trailer that's located in this county at Liberty Township Fire Department. Some of the entities that were associated with that effort: Jackson County Office of Emergency Management, Jackson County Fire Chiefs, Jackson County Farm Bureau, Michigan Pork Producers Association, Michigan Alliance for Animal Agriculture, National Pork Board, MSU Extension. So you can see we have all types of different entities that are collaborating and working together to try to deal with or mitigate an issue that comes up, such as an accident involving livestock. Here essentially is a picture of the trailer that we have. This trailer is not intended to take livestock off of the scene. It's intended to carry the equipment that's going to be appropriate for efficiently handling an accident that involves livestock. Okay? And so you can see here we have panels, we have fencing material, we have sorting boards for pigs, we have ramps, okay, we have all kinds of things in that trailer. Just recently, we added a few more pieces of equipment to this trailer. A large animal relocator sked, so if you have an animal that's non-ambulatory that can't get up and walk, we can put it in the sled, move it to where it needs to go, so on and so forth. Just as recently as October of 2021, okay, we did a training at Liberty Township Fire Department where we got our first responders together, brought them in. We took this trailer and all of that equipment in that trailer, and we set it up into different scenarios. Like, so for example, if you're dealing with a load of hogs that have rolled over, what are the pieces of equipment in here that you can use to effectively manage the scene and respond to the scene for animal handling purposes, okay? We did that with cows too. Pigs, cows, okay? What are the pieces of equipment that are going to be most useful to you in that, okay? On February 7th, 2022, Jackson County 911 receives a call requesting assistance for the E-rail trailer, okay? Washtenaw-Lenawee County line, a load of sows coming from Canada, it tipped over on US Highway 12. Luckily, this trailer was off of the road, so the road was not obstructed, okay? This accident happened actually about 22, 23 miles from the Liberty Township Fire Department, okay? So we responded to the scene. This is what, when I arrived on scene, this is what I saw. All the sows were still contained in the trailer, which was great, right? So we didn't have them running all over the place. Want to kind of give you an indication of what you would see inside the trailer, okay? And these were the sows. Trailer's flipped on its right side. These are the sows laying inside the trailer, okay? Now, I mean, this is a load of sows. Sows weigh about 500 pounds, okay? If you had a load of market hogs, there would have been about 160 of them in here, okay? A load of cows going to market, you're dealing with steers that could be weighing 1,100 pounds, and you're dealing with about 34 of those, okay? So, anyway, this is where all of the effort kicked in to try to, respond to this. This is the accident, another piece of the accident scene. You can see that the trailer from Liberty Township is there. We utilized much of the equipment on the inside that we had for the trailer to respond to this situation. And overall, I just think with, the preparation, the training, the collaboration between all of the entities involved to try to mitigate a response like this, it just created so much more confidence to be able to respond efficiently to the accident. That's all I had. If you have any questions.
Questions? How many lived and how many died in that accident?
There were 15 that died.
Okay.
The rest of them were
how
alive.
many?
85.
85, okay.
Yeah. And most of them were up towards the nose of the semi underneath the drive tires, so could have been the impact potentially. All right.
Thank you for the,
Thank you
thanks
very
for
much.
the work on that. Mhm.
Couple of other quick updates for Extension. Emily Hoover has been hired. Brittany James, those of you that knew Brittany as our 4-H program coordinator, she resigned at the end of December. She took another position on campus in another department. So she is now working up at MSU in East Lansing. And Emily Hoover has been hired to replace her in that role. So Emily is a Jackson native, as you can see on the slide, and she's been with Extension since 2015. She's been in Washtenaw for a bit, and then she started in a half-time role, moved to a full-time role in Livingston County, and has been there since that time. We're very excited to have Emily shifting gears and coming back to Livingston. She's very excited to not be driving to Howell every day and be working in Jackson County. She has worked in youth development for a long time in Jackson County. She was at Storer Camp for a number of years also, doing work with horse kids there through those programs. So she's really excited to get started. She officially, her first day with Extension in Jackson County is going to be next Monday, the 14th. So she's really looking forward to get started, starting to work with the Fair Board and others and continue the planning as we progress towards the fair this year, as well as all of our other 4-H programs. And then the last thing that I wanted to update you on this morning, or this afternoon, is about my role with Extension. So Patrick Cudney was the Associate Director of Michigan State University Extension. He has now taken on a new position with the College of Ag and Natural Resources at MSU as the as the government stakeholder relations person. So he's interacting with our state legislators, federal legislators, and others for Extension, Ag Bio Research, and the College of Agriculture and Veterinary Medicine on campus. So while they work the interim plan for that, I've been asked to serve as the Associate Director on an interim basis for field operations for Extension. So I'll be working with all of my other district director colleagues, county partners, Farm Bureau, others that, as Patrick would have done in that external relations role, working with the county partners. And then Deanna East has been asked to serve as the interim Associate Director for campus operations, so working with our business department, HR, other functions. So that appointment will be for at least the next 6 months as we work on trying to come up with a strategy for refilling the Associate Director role. We're looking for a dean in the College of Ag also, so there's a lot of moving parts for that. So we're not moving forward with permanent replacements at this point in time for some of these positions. So again, this is an interim role for me. In the meantime, over the next several months, I am pleased to introduce to you Mary Bowling. Mary Bowling is going to be serving as the interim district director for District 12, so covering Jackson County and the 5 other counties that I have been serving in. So I'll give Mary just a quick second to introduce herself to you, and then that will conclude our report unless you have questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very pleased to be here with you. I've been with MSU Extension for almost 17 years now, and my parents have a place out at Grass Lake that they've been coming to for 20 years now, so I'm very familiar with Jackson County and all that you have to offer here, so I'm happy to be here for at least the next 6 months or so to serve in the interim district director position. And I don't know if you have any questions for me, but I know you got to get out of here.
Okay, thank you and welcome. Looking forward to working with you. We will move on now to the Health Department. If the Health Department can make its report, and then we have a personnel issue to address then too, right?
Thank you, Chair. Kristen is unavailable today. I included that in some information that Mike sent out on Friday. She's not available today, so if I'm in the interest of time, if you have questions on the monthly report, please let me know, but there is an extensive monthly report in board docs for you, so if you have questions on that. The biggest thing to note is a recall on infant formula that WIC has been dealing with. I'm sure you've heard about that on the news as well. So the health department's been busy handling that. So if you have questions, please let me know, and if I don't know the answer, I'll work with someone to get it for you.
Okay. Questions for the Health Department?
No, I like the report.
Okay, then we'll move on now to item K.
Again, Kristen apologizes. She's not able to be here today. She has promised me she'll be here Tuesday night for the formal appointment. But at this point, we are happy to recommend Kristen Pluta as the next health officer for Jackson County.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move to send the appointment and approval to the full board.
Thank you. Commissioner Sell moves and Commissioner Alexander supports. Any discussion? All those in favor of recommending to the full board the appointment of Kristen Pluta as the health officer will please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. I think we know Kristen, Deb, so it's a little easier to do it in her absence. Thank you, members. We'll move on now to item 5A, the claims. Chair will entertain a motion.
Approve the claims.
Thank you, Commissioner Snell and Commissioner Williams. Any questions on the claims? All those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Item 5B. I don't see anything under other minutes. Under 5C, take note, members, Department on Aging, Health Department, and Lifeways will be up in April. We're now to public comment. Our second public comment, you have 2 minutes to address the board. Is there public comment? Not seeing a rush to the podium. Public comment is now closed. Committee member comments. Are there committee member comments? Not seeing any hands. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Support. All those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.